And with that, Daniel Oyefusi joins the show, ESPN beat reporter for the Cleveland Browns. Daniel, how you doing today, my man?
Doing pretty good.
Daniel, as someone, I have a very long last name too, Gerstenhaber, right? And
That's the first time I've ever heard you say it in public.
I've said it a couple. Every once in a while, I throw my last name out there.
I've never heard you say it in public. I thought you
So
were like part
I'm
of the
sure-
mob and weren't allowed
I
to
can't
say
even
it.
I'm
say
sure,
it.
like me,
It's one of those things I can't
teachers
even
would
say.
screw up your name all the time, and I would find it frustrating. Did you? I assume you had that as well.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be some times where like they'd be like Daniel,
Yeah.
and they just like I'm even gonna try.
Daniel O.
Hey, I nailed it. For what it's worth,
Yeah.
I nailed it.
Oyefusi.
Again, shocking.
You got it.
Mike has trouble with like easy names.
I mean, I've been here a couple times, so you
That's
know.
true.
Mike
It's Oyefusi, right?
Oyefusi.
Mike has never said Brad Doherty's name correctly once in his life.
What? What do you
Brad
call him?
Doherty.
Dougherty.
Dougherty?
That's what I thought.
Brad
you said.
Dougherty.
No, it's not
Not
Dougherty.
Dougherty.
That's how people from Jersey
You
say
thought it
it.
was Dougherty also?
Do you walk through a door or do you walk through a dower?
Brad Doherty.
Well, that doesn't mean anything because people pronounce
Doherty. Doherty.
I mean, Mark Shapiro goes by Mark Shapiro.
I'm saying he calls him Dougherty. It's Doherty.
Listen, from the East Coast, it's Doherty. Daniel's from the East Coast. Oyefusi.
Oh, you are? Where are you from
Dougherty.
originally?
Baltimore.
Oh, yeah, I think I knew that. Okay. So I know we've had you on before, but I'm curious how you've adjusted to Cleveland.
I've adjusted well. No,
Yeah.
it was funny because like I left like during the coaching search. I went back home. I was like, you're not gonna hire somebody for another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Let me go home, and I was like, all right, maybe I can duck the snow a little bit, and then we got the snowstorm too. And then I come back here, and we still got the ice and the snow everywhere. So
It's
I
awful.
mean, really, it was like the first year was really the biggest adjustment because I was working in Miami.
Right.
So Miami for 2 years
Okay.
like spoiled me. So like the first winter when it was like negative 10 degrees.
Yeah.
That's the first time where I was truly like, yo, why did I move out here? That's the first time
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
crazy.
man.
Yeah, because it's not like Baltimore's warm. I mean, it's better than here, but it's not.
yeah.
But compared to Miami, yeah.
You probably don't get much snow there, right?
I mean,
in Baltimore.
not
Yeah.
as
but not
as
like
much the
this.
past couple of years, but
Right,
obviously
right.
we got like a generational snowstorm. A couple weeks
sure,
back. So.
sure.
Were you shocked when when you heard that they were letting Kevin go, or did you have that feeling like, going to the end of the year?
Nah. I mean, Jason can kind of like probably speak to it. I think there were a couple times like the Jets game was the first time where I was just like, oh, nah, like, it's not looking good for Kevin.
Yeah.
I was like, there's some games like you can lose to the Ravens, you can lose to some of these upper echelon teams, but the Jets game was after coming off a bye. That's the first time where I was like, it's not looking good. And it was really because like the manner in which they were losing. It wasn't like they was losing like these 35-31 barn burners. It was like the defense does its job for like half a game. The offense can't do anything, and then it kind of just like falls apart.
Yeah.
And then really the Tennessee game, that's when I was just like, the San Francisco game when Kevin just for some random reason went for it on 4th and short on his side of the field. When they were kind of like in control of that game or in that game, I was just like, that was like one of the first times where I was like, Kevin like legitimately like lost in that game. And then the Titans game when he took Shedeur off. And then the 2-point conversion got mumbled. I was like, it might be done. Like, it's just too many self-inflicted mistakes.
For me, it was the Bears game when they couldn't get lined up at the start of the game, right? Wasn't that Chicago? When they had
But that was like week 15, 16. I think by then it was like
that was to me was
final straw?
Well, not the final straw. I wouldn't have fired him. So it wasn't the final straw for
Well,
me.
not for you, but I'm saying you.
But
maybe that was.
But I watched the start of the Chicago game and said, I'm looking at Freddie. This is Freddie Kitchens level crap going on here.
Yeah.
So I mean, it became pretty evident toward the end that this is how it was going to go.
Were you surprised? I mean, did you think Todd Monken was a legit candidate?
I mean, one thing that stood out to me was that, like, while other people were, like, withdrawing their name, and we can go over the semantics of it, like, whether because they weren't going to get the job. Like, honestly, like, I don't even know if Udinski was even really going to take this job, honestly. Like, why would he need to take this job? Shieldhouse, too, like.
Yeah.
Like.
Wait for a better option.
Yeah, and conversely, I'm not sure if they were as high, if the Browns were as high on them as, like, maybe, like, it was led to believe.
Yeah.
But the fact that Monken pretty much had that OC job with Harbaugh and the Giants in the bag, and he stuck it out the entirety of it. I think, like, throughout that, like, you could be like, you couldn't have discounted. Like, we thought it was going to be like, Udinski and Chillhouse, or they were just going to go to Schwartz. But Monken was there the entire time, and nobody was talking about him. And the fact that he, like, stood and he kept his name in there, that, for sure. Like, you couldn't have discounted. It was maybe a little bit of a surprise just because, like, nobody was really, like, thinking that he'd be the favorite. I think a lot of people locally, like fans, didn't really want him. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And now everybody's talked themselves into it, and
that always
looking at the
you got
positive,
to.
They talk
you know.
themselves into
Yeah,
Freddie
yeah.
too. So
That's true. He's no Freddie, obviously.
no,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not. He's not.
But it must be refreshing that like 6 years. I mean, I know you weren't here for the whole time,
Yeah.
but obviously, Kevin Stefanski doesn't say anything in press conferences, and Todd Monken already.
He might say too much.
What's that?
He might say too much.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff with Jim Schwartz. What did you think of that? And how do you think the Schwartz stuff is going to resolve itself?
Well, it was funny because I got a text from somebody. I was just like, am I like missing this? Like, was he trying to like throw him under the bus? And I'm like I was familiar with Todd just because of my Baltimore roots and everything, just keeping tabs on the AFC North. And I like, if people don't know yet, like, you're gonna quickly find out he's a straight shooter, and he's almost like honest to a fault. So when he was like, I didn't take the job because of Jim Schwartz, like, I don't think he meant it like to be incendiary.
Right,
He was telling the truth. Like, I ain't take it because of Jim.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, when you have still that situation up in the air and on the outside, we don't really know how it's gonna play out or how it is playing out. It was awkward at best. And at its worst, it really led you. Like, I was wondering, like, what did that conversation? Because the first question was, "Have you spoken to Jim?" He said, "Yeah, I spoke to Jim."
Yeah,
that was it. And then finally, he was just like, "I don't want to comment on that."
Yeah.
And then he went, and he was like, "I'm gonna comment on it all the way." So now I'm left wondering, like, well, what is that conversation? What did that conversation sound like? And it led me to like really question if Jim Schwartz is gonna be back, because that didn't sound like.
Yeah.
The introductory press conference didn't sound like a head coach who was anticipating he'll be back.
These two came to blows a half hour ago over Schwartz.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
There was a strong disagreement about how Jim has handled this whole thing. How do you think this ends with him? And how do you think he has handled the rejection?
Well, the reports was that he like stormed out the building and said he's not coming back, and I'm like, I don't know. It leads me back to like, what was the process like? Because I mean, from Jim's perspective, and I'm gonna have some like empathy for Jim. Like, you know, he's about to turn 60 later this year. He's talked about wanting to be a head coach again, and this is not the first time. This is the second time he got passed over to be the head coach. Because, you know, in 2020 they interviewed him. They hired Stefanski. So I can understand some frustration there, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, you're under contract. Like, that's like, there's no, like, you're under contract, man. Like, I don't. Unless you're going to retire, like,
he could retire.
Like, I don't think like the team not just going to let him go to Philly or go.
You don't think so?
I mean, they could.
Yeah.
They let Shanahan out.
They could, because it might. But I think bigger picture, like. Well, I also wonder, like, does Monken want to keep him? At
this point, right, yeah.
And yeah, like, did he want to keep him? Does he want to keep him after the conversations? Because I think bigger picture, and even when we were talking about, like, who they were going to hire as head coach, I didn't think that it was right to make a mandate that the new head coach had to keep Schwartz. I didn't think it was. I thought it was fine if you said, hey, we really like the defense, we like the defensive staff, da-da-da.
Yeah.
But philosophically, like, if you're bringing in a head coach, like, you're not bringing him just to turn around the offense. You're hiring him to lead the entire team.
Yeah.
So if that coach wanted to make some changes, like bring in a new defensive coordinator, I think it sends a bad message and it sets a bad precedent if you say that new head coach has to keep Jim Schwartz.
And by the way,
you're pushing him to do that.
Yeah.
He's the finalist for the job that you have.
Yeah, so
it's
So
not
you gotta
like
understand that, like, there might be some, some awkwardness and some animosity there, and he might want to go his separate way.
Like, Atlanta did this to an extent, but Albrecht never interviewed for the head coach job. Like, it was clear.
They just put him on ice,
DC.
and they was like, you can't be a DC for another team until we figure out the head coaching situation.
Right.
Are you shocked? Are you shocked that Kevin recruiting all the old guys down to?
Nah, because that was kind of like one of like the criticisms of him when he was in Cleveland. Like, he was like, he stayed loyal to his guys. They was like, Bubba, they got to get Bubba out. He was like, I ain't get rid of Bubba.
Well, he didn't take Bubba with him.
Well, he did it. Well, that's funny. That's the funny part. He didn't take it with him. So, but nah, I mean, I think that, even in watching some of the interviews that he's done with, media out there, and he's like, I'm doing my wide zone system, play action, West Coast, da-da-da. He didn't really do that this past year. I think that's what kind of
been like 3 years.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of like the subplots of the offense that we didn't really talk about. Like, they weren't running like that vintage Kevin Stefanski, Nick Chubb offense. Like, it was a little different.
He's got a stud back now.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that I think the one thing that surprised me is that he didn't take over play calling duties back now in Atlanta. But maybe that was kind of part of the selling point to get Tommy. Like, hey, I'm gonna bring you along, but I'm gonna still let you call the plays.
Yeah.
But that doesn't surprise me because like those were his guys, and obviously I don't think that like all the coaching changes and staffing changes were something that he may have wanted. But I think that that was part of the compromise to try to make things work with Deshaun and try to push the offense forward.
Todd Monken is going to call plays here. The question is, what quarterback will be getting those plays from Todd Monken?
Man.
So, I mean, obviously, there's no clear answer.
Yeah.
A lot of people think Shedeur Sanders has the best chance.
Yeah.
We don't know how the Browns really feel about him. Will they go outside the organization, draft, trade, free agency? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your best guess as to, I'll say, who the quarterbacks will be?
Yeah.
And who is the most likely to start right now?
Well, I'll say this: the more and more I think about it, I'm like 85%, 90% confident that the starting quarterback in week 1 is already in the building, already on the roster. I know Andrew Berry said they're going to explore the quarterback market, but you got to look. They did that last year. They looked at Daniel Jones. They looked at Russell Wilson. They looked at Kirk Cousins. And the best they were able to get by exploring the quarterback market and trying to get somebody, they were able to trade a 5th-round pick for Kenny Pickett, and they were able to sign Joe Flacco 2 weeks before the draft. And I think that was a byproduct of a lot of things. Not wanting to spend so much money. I don't think quarterbacks wanted to come here because they knew that the Browns might draft a quarterback early. Now they got 2 young quarterbacks on rookie deals that I think that they're still going to prioritize to some extent, especially Shedeur. I don't know which one of it is going to be between Deshaun or Shedeur, but if I had to put money on it, I would say one of those two. You
think Deshaun could? I mean, Zach said the same thing yesterday. He thinks that Deshaun could be a starter.
He has to beat out.
Maybe Monken thinks he can fix him.
Yeah, and he has to beat out Shedeur. I like in that scenario. I mean, who realistically would they bring in at if you're looking at like a Marcus Mariota type. Tyler Huntley's going to be out there.
Yeah.
I don't like Malik Willis, who I don't think that's going to happen because he has the same agent as Deshaun.
Right. Yeah.
So
and I think it depends. Like if the Browns were just trying to win as many games as possible next year, then maybe you'd go get Kyler Murray or bring back Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Because those guys are ultimately better players than Shedeur is right now.
But you got to think realistically in terms of like the construction of the team
right,
they have. But one thing I'll say is I think Monken truly is going to come into it with I don't think he is siding with anybody. Like I know everybody was looking at the video when he met Shedeur and he embraced it. I don't even know how much film he really has watched on Shedeur. Like if I'm being completely honest, like I know they did the Ravens did some pre-draft work on him, and obviously he saw his film there. But he wasn't watching Shedeur's film during the.
He's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Like and even when he's interviewing for the job, like it's not like he's pulling up a bunch of tape and breaking down the film like that. Like I don't even think he's seen that much Shedeur film.
You're probably right.
And obviously Deshaun hasn't played since October 2024, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think he's really going to come into it with an open mind. And the thing about it is like his scheme is so flexible that it's not like he's going to have stuff for Deshaun. He's going to have stuff for Shedeur. So it really is like who is the best quarterback that can go out there and execute the offense.
Do you think there'll be a different third quarterback besides Dylan Gabriel here, or do you think it'll be?
Well, that's an interesting note because I mean I'm sure you guys have talked about it. Like that pick was heavily influenced by Kevin. Like he had a lot to say on who they took in the 3rd round.
That guy can't play. It's pretty.
He might take him.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because if we're not gonna hold Shedeur's stats against him and
that's right.
The product
I think we hold Shedeur.
Well,
a lot of people.
But a lot of people are saying, it was an uphill battle. The offensive line stinks.
Yeah.
Wide receivers were dropping.
You're right.
That's the same thing with Dylan.
You're right.
But I feel like Dylan honestly isn't getting as much.
No, you're right. I think part of that is Shedeur showed more.
I think all
flashes, but you're right. That's fair.
I think both of those young quarterbacks are better than what they showed on tape last year.
Okay.
But I think that internally, there is a little maybe more investment and hope that Shedeur is going to be the starting quarterback. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Hearing him say that makes me think about you saying that one of the things that you could fire Kevin for was not identifying other quarterbacks in this draft.
Jackson Dart and Tyler Shuck. You
yes.
told me. That's why it was reason to get rid of
everybody. On both those guys.
And you hear him say that Kevin heavily influenced the Dylan Gabriel pick. So that means that you said that Dylan Gabriel was the 2nd best quarterback in this draft.
Well, at best 3rd because,
I wouldn't necessarily say that because they passed on. They had 2 second-round picks and they
They
didn't
had
take
the
a
Right.
number
quarterback.
2 pick
They
in the
passed on.
draft.
But nobody was going to take. But nobody was going to take.
They could have taken Tyler Shook. Ain't worth the number 2 pick in the draft.
Well, nobody thought he was worth the number 2 pick.
Well, if
No,
you
no,
a
no.
good quarterback, yes, he is.
But
They had-
Tyvis,
they
they
had
might
two
have
second-
taken him in the second
They had
round.
two
Yeah,
second
yeah.
No,
rounders
I'm
and
not.
passed on.
They had 2
No,
second-round
y'all can
picks.
miss me with that. You sit there and you say quarterback is the most important
I'm not
position
telling
in
you
the
what I
game.
would have done.
Nah, y'all not about to sit here. Quarterback's the most important position in the
Agreed.
game. If he is that good, you take him at 2.
Agreed.
I don't care what you're
Agreed,
talking
but
about.
you said the Browns definitively thought Dylan Gabriel was the second best quarterback.
How could you
We're
not
saying-
say they didn't think that?
Because
They had the number 2. They could have got anybody in the draft but Cam
obviously
Ward.
didn't think
So then
that
why
any
didn't
of
they
those
take
guys
Dylan
were-
at 2? If they
Yeah,
felt that
right.
way?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Nobody was going. I mean, that's nobody was going to take Dylan that high. Nobody was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
take Shuck that high.
Right.
But
Nobody was
And
gonna
maybe
take Dart that
looking
high.
back, maybe he should have.
Yeah, maybe.
Part of their process,
Yeah.
if I'm Jimmy, is looking at Andrew and saying, you told me there was one quarterback in this draft.
Right.
Why is New York celebrating Jackson Dart like
The
they've
Saints,
got
the
like,
Saints celebrating
And the Saints
too.
are moving forward
The
with
Saints
Shedeur.
said that's our guy for next
And
year.
then we
So
don't
I-
know for sure that those guys are the long-term
But
answers.
you can only
but their
go off-
teams are moving forward.
You
with
can
it.
only go off the
good.
information that you have right now. And
Yeah.
I did make that point all year.
Yeah.
That is reason enough to fire everybody in the building if you're the ownership that you say, you told me there was no quarterback worth taking this year and at the top of the draft. And now look at all these other
We got
quarterbacks.
2 that didn't look as good as
Right.
multiple other
Yeah.
quarterbacks.
Right. Yes, in theory, even though it wasn't really getting talked about, if they had taken Shuck or Dart at 6, in theory, and they had played equivalent to how they did with in their own spots,
People would be ecstatic.
we'd be all excited, right?
sure.
And let's be honest. You can say, well, the Browns' offense stinks. That's true. It's not like the Saints and the Giants, especially after
Malik Neighbors
Scatterbo
went
and
down.
Neighbors both
Yeah.
got hurt.
Yeah.
Not like there's a lot of offensive. I mean, they're both better than the Browns, but it's not like we're talking about they went to the Bengals
They
or they
are,
went to some
but both
good offensive
both
team.
of those teams, I want to say, McNuggets, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're a Giants.
He's out to lunch over there.
McNuggets. How is the Giants' offensive line? Because didn't the Saints like go all in the draft on their line?
I mean, Saints drafted Kelvin Banks, who had a really good rookie season. Giants' offensive line is decent. Their left
got a
tackle,
left
Andrew
tackle.
Thomas, when
Yeah.
healthy, is terrific.
That's majority of the battle
He's
right
terrific.
there.
Joe
Yeah,
Burrow went to the Super Bowl with the worst offensive line in football.
I
so-
agree with you, but that's fine and all.
Yeah.
But when you got especially a young quarterback,
Yeah.
the last thing you want him to do is focus on, I got
I
to
hear
avoid
you.
these sacks too.
I hear you.
You know what helps
yeah.
You know what helps avoiding sacks? Throw the football. Get it out of your hands.
I agree with that statement too.
It's gonna be
not
wild.
but you're not gonna act like Jackson Dart didn't do what he did.
Oh, Jackson Dart could be hospitalized.
He's a crash dummy. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Daniel, with Deshaun last season, like how was he? I know obviously a lot was made. He was talking with Shedeur. Seems like they have a good relationship.
Yeah.
What were they like during the week? I know you guys don't get a lot of access during the week at practice or whatever, but like, was he very engaged? Was he like part of the plan, or like what? How much was he involved?
I remember Bill Musgrave, quarterback coach, was saying
Yeah.
that like Deshaun was very attentive and
Yeah.
participating in all the meetings and helping the young guys out. Outside, obviously we saw him the last 3. Like you saw him for a 3-week span when he was practicing.
Right.
They designated him off PUP.
Right.
Outside of that, like the only time we really saw him was like, he was in the locker room a lot, like kind of like working,
Okay.
like, kind of in and out. So he was like
Yeah.
he was working a lot. Like when if he wasn't practicing with the team, he was doing his own workouts and
Right.
getting his own sessions in and stuff like that. So like if we talk to people, most people like they're like, yeah, Deshaun is engaged, he's involved. Like he was out there for Shedeur's first start, and like a big point of that was like wanting to be a resource to him. So like by all accounts, he's like been like a great teammate.
Okay.
So when OTAs open up, he will be healthy and be out there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
I mean, it's been a year and a half.
I
since George
can't
Gilliam.
wait. Oh, this is
He was
gonna
ready.
be-
This
this is
I don't
gonna
want
be
to say
good,
I don't want to say he was
Jason.
ready to go like late in the season, but
Right.
he was.
I
ramping
I
up.
might get
So,
credentialed. I got to go
That's,
see
those
just
are for
to see
me.
I
him.
got to go see this.
Those are only
What do
for
you
media
think?
members.
Is there any chance, like Myles Garrett obviously is not thrilled about Jim Schwartz probably being gone.
Yeah.
He put that Instagram post up there. You think there's any chance he's going to,
Nah.
make a trade request
Nah,
again, or
nah.
that's out the window? I hope not.
Nah.
Last year was the time for that.
Yeah.
What Jimmy say? Yeah, I expect him to be back here.
Yeah,
Try to break that sack record again.
Yeah,
I understand a lot of those defensive guys. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to mess up a good thing, but it's just like, hey, that's the cost of doing business.
That's right.
When you make a head coaching change, that comes with it, and I think that they'll be in good hands. They got the personnel in there. If Jim doesn't, come back for whatever reason, I think they got some experience.
You think they promote one of the guys?
I think that they would. I think they would do an internal promotion.
Who you think?
I mean, Jason Tarver, I think, has the most. The linebackers coach has the most experience. Like, he's been a former defensive coach, I think, on the college level. But him, Ephraim Banda, the safeties coach, he interviewed for the Jets opening. So they got some guys in there that I think, even Brandon Lynch, he's been talked about as a future head coach. Like, they've got guys in there that I think that could still, keep the core. I mean, they might not be Jim Schwartz. I don't know, because
Sure. Nobody's going to be first year.
Yeah, but they've got some guys in there that I think that
there's
they
a lot of
feel
talent.
good about.
You think Judkins gonna be ready for the start of training camp?
Oh yeah. It wasn't like a ligament thing. It was just like a break, which I like. That was a horrific injury.
Sure.
When I saw it,
But it heals quicker.
I know what I want to ask you. Number 6 and 24. How would you handle it in the draft?
Wide receiver, O-line, wide receiver, whichever one's highest on the board.
they can't take.
Let's keep it simple.
Player.
No, let's just keep it simple.
Do you have a favorite player in mind if you was picking that 6?
Who do you like of the receivers the most?
I've been warming up to Lemon. I think all the Browns fans just normally that, like, because Ohio State, they're like Carnell Tate, and I think that he feels like just a really, really super solid player.
Who you talking about?
Carnell Tate. But there's something about Lemon that I like. Like there were some JSN comparisons.
I swear to God, I said the same thing.
Where he's not the tallest and the biggest receiver, but he plays bigger than his size.
You mentioned Lemon too.
He's a football player. He's crafty. He's a football player. I don't know if I take him at 6. I might trade back to
take Lemon
10.
Make a trade with the Bengals, because the Bengals need a defensive player. Drop 4 spots. Take him at 10. Get what would you get for the Bengals for moving up from 10 to 6?
Probably extra third or something like that.
Extra third?
Yeah.
Okay, then trade
maybe.
the 24th pick?
To move up?
No, trade the 24th pick to the Jaguars for Brian Thomas.
Or Marvin Harris.
Or Marvin Harrison
Jr.
And then use your second round pick and the 2 third-round picks to get offensive linemen.
Wouldn't be opposed to that.